show, which is called Pick and Pop Player Props. Now, this will strictly be about NBA player props moving forward, and I'm super excited to start this show. Basically, it's going to all revolve all around player props, and guess what? We all have those dry spells of picking the wrong team to win, the wrong spread, but guess what? This is the best part about player props. It doesn't even matter who wins or loses the game as long as your guy gets what he needs to win you money. So, like I said, I have a lot of stuff from FanDuel and DraftKings. None of their different segments on the show I will be going through without. I'll explain the segments as we go along with the show. But before we get started with everything, I just want to let you guys know that my promo code is Scalia, SCALIA, to sign up to BetQL to get the best betting data you possibly can. You can get 20% off your subscription if you use my promo code. So definitely after the show, that's something you're definitely going to want to research, check out, and sign up to. I will be mentioning that throughout the show as I go along. So I just want to welcome everybody again. This is the first show, so I hope everything goes well today. And for each segment, I have pretty much only one player each. We're going to start slow with it, and I think as time goes along, I'll be able to get into a better rhythm with things. With that being said, I also want to let everybody know that the live game today is the Dallas Mavericks at the Phoenix Suns. It's a big-time game as the Suns are still fighting to get in that play-in spot, possibly against the Portland Trailblazers, the Memphis Grizzlies, or the San Antonio Spurs. And those four teams will be a highlight later on in this show as we go along. Actually, I kind of want to talk about them now. This is the thing. A lot of people are getting burned right now by selecting players with high-seeded teams. And that is a segment that I'd like to begin with called To Keep an Eye on Teams with Locked Seedings. Now, yesterday, this happened to me, for example. I bet the over on Fred VanVleet points, assists, and rebounds. And he was doing pretty good up until the fourth quarter. What happened in the fourth quarter? Toronto pulled their starters. Philadelphia didn't have Joel Embiid anymore. And then that became a problem because he never got back on the floor, didn't finish the prop that he probably would have finished. Only needed 4 more points. It's pretty, stays in my head for sure. But that's the thing. You got to do your research on these things, and you have to see, okay, now that it's getting to playoff time, now that it's getting closer, what team should I be focusing on right now? What are the teams that I know that my guys are going to be on the floor as much as they possibly can, as many minutes as they can be on the floor? And this is the thing. I think the 4 teams you really want to focus on right now are definitely the 4 in the West. Like I just said, the Spurs, the Grizzlies, the Suns, and the Portland Trailblazers. I think the Trailblazers are the best team to bet on right now in the NBA bubble. And that's definitely, you'll see a couple players from them throughout this show today. So, like I said, you want to focus on these teams. Why? Because they're going to try to keep their starters in throughout the whole game. You don't want to lose a prop bet, or even if you are betting money lines or spreads on something that gets out of control, such as the Miami Heat blowing a 22-point lead in the fourth quarter against the Oklahoma City Thunder because there's pretty much no starters left in the game. So, this is something that you're really going to want to focus on moving forward. I think these teams are good bets. You have a lot of great players to bet on with these teams. Ja Morant, Portland Trailblazers have a bunch of guys you could go with. San Antonio Spurs have some good guys too. I think that'll take us into the first, actually maybe the next segment called Why Him? And I'm going to focus on Rudy Gay of the San Antonio Spurs. I'm going to go with points, rebounds, assists here. This is something you're going to see a lot throughout the show as well. It's probably my favorite prop to bet on. Why? Because guess what? Even if he misses a couple shots, your guy could snatch up a couple important rebounds, have some extra assists, all these extra things that are tallying up. And if you look at a certain line, it's always a good bet to put your money on. And this is why Rudy Gay, his last game had 19 points too. So think about it. If his line right now is at 22.5 for FanDuel and he's coming off this game, it can only be good things for him. And like I said, the Spurs are also on a 3-win streak as well. and they're going up against the Utah Jazz. Now, the Jazz, they have already clinched the number 6 seed as the Mavericks lost against the Trailblazers. So now you're thinking Dallas Mavericks, yes, they might roll out their starters for the first, second, maybe even the third. But the fourth quarter, if the game gets away from them, I'm in the Utah Jazz. This is a game where anything can happen, and Rudy Gay could find a way to take advantage of those matchups. And Rudy Gobert is also coming off a pretty poor performance against the Denver Nuggets last time they played. So I think Rudy Gay could definitely work his way into the paint. A great ball movement of the San Antonio Spurs, and a guy that Greg Popovich definitely trusts down the stretch. Derek White, he's coming off an injury-riddled game. So they may look to Rudy more, I think, in this. Like I said, guy that they trust a lot. And also, according to BetQL, the Spurs have an A- offense grade with their great ball movement. I think Rudy Gay is a good spot. Not a name you really think of when you're trying to lock in a big-time player prop, but I think he is definitely a good bet to possibly go over the points, rebounds, assists, and that is at -115 for FanDuel. So definitely try to go with someone like him if you're looking for a sleeper pick along those lines. So Rudy Gay from the San Antonio Spurs, and they're facing the Utah Jazz, so don't forget that. All right, so next segment will be called Nothing But Net, and it's pretty simple to explain that one. These are pretty much my solid locks. Why him was, do I know this player? Do I really want this player? This time, these are the studs. These are the guys you want to go to. These are guys that have been performing at a high level in the bubble right now. And who else to start off this with than Devin Booker? I mean, this guy is going crazy right now. 35 points in his last 3 games, exactly to a T. He has been taking this team to new levels. The only undefeated team still in the bubble, and Devin Booker has been the driving force of this team. So when I look and I'm researching on FanDuel, I see his points, rebounds, assists is at 41.1, and if he's scoring 35 per game so far, that's a pretty good look for Booker. And just to remind you again, he's going up against the Dallas Mavericks. That is the free game for BetQL. So if you guys want to get some stats, get some information on there, that's the game you want to go to. And guess what? If that treats you well, you want to sign up for an account, use the promo code Scalia, SCALIA. My name is at the bottom in little fine print. So, like I said, Devin Booker, yeah, he's coming off just a great game. They're fighting for this playoff spot. He's going to play a lot of minutes, okay? They need to win this game. They need to keep winning games to stay alive in the play-in playoff race. So, like I said, averaging 35 points a game. And even you look at his other stats here, I'm seeing 9 rebounds against the Sixers, 7 assists against the Sixers. So, Booker he definitely has the ability to get those other little extra points that are very important for the points, assists, and rebounds. Even against, for example, the Oklahoma City Thunder when he played them. He was 0 for 7 from 3, but he was still able to put up 35 points. That is production right there, and that shows that, guess what, even though if he's missing those shots, the production and the value is still so high for Booker, and he will rack up the assists as well. He had 6 assists that game, 3 rebounds. So like I said, Devin Booker, obviously the most important part of this Suns team moving forward, probably the coolest story. Everybody saw his game winner against the Los Angeles Clippers. And, hey, even if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, you need that last point, that last rebound, that assist. They're going to be looking for Devin to do that. They're going to be looking for him to provide that offensive spark that team has. Also being said, BetQL also has the Mavericks at a C+ defensive grade right now. We saw what the Portland Trailblazers did to them in the last game they played. That was a great back-and-forth matchup, but Damian Lillard was starting to really take over in that game, and also Carmelo Anthony had a pretty good game against them, and that's someone that I really like throughout these player props as well. And why not talk a little more about Carmelo Anthony? Because guess what? He made nothing but net too. He's there for points, rebounds, assists. Like I said, this is a prop that you're going to see a lot from me. Probably my favorite thing to bet on personally. And his line right now for FanDuel is at 23.5, and it is -113. So Carmelo Anthony obviously was bouncing around a couple teams. these past couple of years between the Rockets, the Thunder. But guess what? He has really found his home in Portland. And now with a matchup against the Nets, and his last 3 games, he's scored 21, 20, and 26 points. That's just points, okay? Rebounds are always around 7 and 8. I don't know if you guys follow him that well, but he's always snatching those rebounds and saying some, well, pretty, he's got some choice words to say when he's down there, but he makes sure that he's got the ball. He wants to make sure he wants to let everybody else know that he has the ball, okay, when he gets those rebounds. So, I mean, that's a player that you just got to love to bet on. And like I said, against the Brooklyn Nets right now, the Nets, even though you just never know what to predict with them with their wins against the Bucks and the Clippers, I think win or lose with the Blazers, whatever happen, weird things can happen. I think Melo could still find a way to definitely accomplish this feat. This is, for me, this is a pretty low line for him as well. And we're actually going to come back to Melo later too, because there's a lot of Portland Trailblazers featured on this list for better and for worse. So before we continue again, just wanted to let you guys know, first show, Pick and Pop Player Props, Jimmy Scalia. I'm your host. Hope you guys are enjoying everything. Hope you guys are making sure to get your lock picks in. And remember, promo code is Scalia, Scalia, to sign up for an account on BetQL. You'd get 20% off, and you get the best betting data you possibly can get. So with that being said, we can move on to the next segment, and that's called Bounce Back Ballers. Guys that have been, not that good recently. Maybe they're on a cold streak or something. Maybe their team's losing. But this guy has actually been one of the hottest players in the bubble right now. Gary Trent Jr. of the Portland Trailblazers. He has the most made three-point field goals of any player in the bubble right now. He's simply going off the bench. But this is the thing. His last 2 games, he's only 1 for 6 from 3. And this is an area where this guy lives. He lives on the perimeter. And why? The reason is because of Damian Lillard's presence. Teams looking to double team. You have picks constantly by Damian Lillard. And guess what? Gary Trent Jr. always gets those spots. He could find those open areas of by the perimeter and knock down some big time shots. Now, before these back-to-back 1 for 6 3-point performances from Trent, he knocked down 7 threes. So in the game prior to that. So obviously Trent is a more than capable player of doing this. And right now his line is at 2.5. He only needs for 3 field goals, 3-point field goals within this game. And I really like this line for Gary Trent. I think he's a really good player. He's someone that Lillard trusts a lot. And I see that within games. CJ McCollum has been trickling off a little. We'll definitely talk about him later. But Gary Trent Jr., I think him and Carmelo Anthony are definitely the biggest beneficiaries right now from the presence that Damian Lillard and even Nurkic coming back has on the court. So, like I said, Gary Trent Jr., that's on FanDuel, plus 106. I really like that line a lot. And like I said, yeah, this is the thing. He's shooting 6, even though he was 1 for 6, he's still shooting 6 3-point field goals. So that shows the value right there within Gary Trent Jr. And I think that all you could do is hope for, hey, at least the guy's shooting enough. You'll get those opportunities. It's not the fact that you don't want to bet on somebody that doesn't shoot that many threes. Maybe even though he's not playing right now, Lamarcus Aldridge, his line sometimes 1.5. But the thing is, he's not taking that many shots. When you have a guy taking at least 6 3-point field goals per game, I think Gary Trent Jr. is a great candidate to be a bounce-back baller for BetQL. And yeah, against the Brooklyn Nets, again, look, this is according to BetQL, there's an A+ offense against a C defense in the Brooklyn Nets. And as we know, the Portland Trailblazers have been killing it offensively, and they're going to try to work their way along in the play-in picture. As you see before, like I mentioned, the Grizzlies, the Spurs, the Blazers, those are the teams that you want to focus on at this point. And definitely the Blazers are on top of that list right now. So yeah, I think that they're a great team to look at, like, going forward. He's a great player, and they're going to want to try to get him as many minutes as he can because they know how good of a player he could be down the stretch. So that's why I think is a great bounce back baller candidate, Gary Trent Jr. of the Portland Trailblazers. So next one, this is a little fun one I like to call feeling risky, and these are always crazy odds. I try to do at least plus 800 or above, something crazy. Now, obviously, these are not locks, but hey, sometimes they happen. And sometimes if you're feeling risky and you're on a hot streak, then guess what? You might have to take it. For this one, I have Ja Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies to get a triple-double against the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, let's just remember here, Giannis actually did headbutt a man on the Wizards yesterday. So that means that he will not be playing in this game. So what does that mean for Ja Morant? He has still had his past 2 games, he's had 2 double-doubles. So that's big. Okay, the points are there. The assists are there. The only thing that's missing for Ja right now is the rebounds, which he's had 4 in the past 3 games. So that's the thing. That's the part why these odds are so big. He needs to get the rebounds up there. But with Giannis out and Giannis off the floor, that kind of opens up the door a little for him to play more aggressive in the paint when the ball is coming off the rim in order to get some more rebounds in those situations. So, and like I said, there's another must-win game for the Memphis Grizzlies. They're trying to fight for these spots, and you want to get these teams that are going to be playing these guys all these extra minutes and not taking them out early. So I think Ja Morant is going to feel that pressure. Again, he's a rookie, but we all know he's going to win Rookie of the Year. And I feel like he's going to feel that pressure, try to, get his team in there to get a big-time win. And I could see him possibly getting more aggressive in these circumstances. So, again, it's just the rebounds he has to focus on. Although that will not be easy at all, I think that it's definitely a category which Ja could definitely find himself in working. And like I said, he's going to win Rookie of the Year. I think this is a game they have to win against a good team. So he could definitely come out focused enough to win a game like this. So like I said, just keep an eye on those teams that are seeding. So example, like the Bucks, like the Lakers, the Toronto Raptors yesterday. These guys are pulling their players out. Just watch out for those circumstances. Focus on the teams that aren't going to be pulling their players out. Focus on the teams that need to win these games, and then you won't have to worry about your guy coming out for an extended amount of time in a game. So, like I said, yeah, just focus on those teams right now. And for the last segment, this will be under the backboard. So, going to be talking, like I said, there's a lot of talk about the Portland Trailblazers right now. It's hard not to at this point. I think they're the surprise team of not surprised, but I think Nurkic coming back really helped them down the stretch. And you see his impact on the court is just so big. So, like I said, this is a team that has a lot of offensive firepower, and you can't go wrong with betting on any of them. You could bet on a Dame time. You could bet on Melo. You could bet on, like I just said, Gary Trent Jr. But someone you want to be careful with is CJ McCollum, and it is not because of what his play is as a player, but according to Trailblazers insider Dwight Jaynes, CJ has been playing with a lower back fracture, and he was playing against the Mavericks with this fracture. Now let's just take a look at his point totals. His last 3 games against the Clippers, he had 29. That trickled down to 16 against the Mavericks, against the 76ers. And then against the Mavericks, he only had 8 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. He was 2 of 14 from the field. And CJ is a good player. Now, we obviously know it's not because of his overall play, because we've seen him perform pretty well in the bubble so far. But this is the thing. He is dealing with this back injury, and there is a number of different guys on this Blazers team that could provide offense. So I really think that his point total for 18.5, although it's not a crazy line, I still am going to take the under on this from FanDuel. It's at minus 106. And this is a guy that I just feel like you might want to stay away from now. Like I said, he's seen point decreases in his last 2 games, and they're pretty big. The first one, it was a 13-point decrease, and the next one's a 12-point decrease. So, you want to look at this. You want to say, okay, if I'm going to put my money on this hot team in the Portland Trailblazers, I want to make sure I'm picking the spots and putting it in the right places to go. Damian Lillard, always a great bet to go with. Any category, points, assists, rebounds, or just points. Because he's been going on a tear. Of course, after Patrick Beverley and Paul George had to get him a little angry in that game against the Clippers. Like I said, Carmelo Anthony, he's got 20-plus in his last 3 games. He is on a tear as well. And Gary Trent Jr., I think he'll bounce back well. So then that's the thing. That leaves CJ in kind of no man's land right now. Just wait a little bit, take some time, see what happens with that injury. And if it all clears up, it all clears up. But I don't know if it's that safe of a bet moving forward for the Portland Trailblazers. So that'll just about do all the categories I had for this show. I hope everybody enjoyed joining me for about this 20 minutes or so. I just want to remind you guys one more time, the free game today is the Dallas Mavericks at the Phoenix Suns. So you definitely want to check that out. Try to get all that data in there. And like I said, you want to sign up to BetQL as well. Use my promo code Scalia, Scalia, and you'll be able to get a 20% discount off getting an account for BetQL. And like I said, sports are back. It's a great time to be alive, and you want to sign up for this account if you're back on the betting sites, whether it be DraftKings, FanDuel, or BetMGM. Doesn't matter where you are. The best sports data, the best betting data is on BetQL. So definitely sign up for this account. And that'll just about do it. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to this show today. And my name's Jimmy Scalia. This was Pick and Pop Player Props. I'll see you guys tomorrow with some more info.